realize you have the power to control your own safety? My 5-year-old nephew, Kason, is a fearless little boy, and he loves to run and climb and play. So one day, I'm running after him around the house, and I turn the corner to follow him, and I see him climbing the stairs on the outside of the railing. When I saw him almost a full story up, I yelled out, "Kason!" As he's clinging to the railing with his little toes perched on the side, he looked at me, giggled, and let go. He threw both arms out to the side almost like wings and jumped backward off the top of the stairs right into my arms, fully knowing I was going to catch him. His ability to predict his own safety was shocking. As adults, it's not so easy to predict our own safety or control our outcomes, especially when we don't know how to manage others' behaviors. On October 2nd, 2019, my workday started as a pretty normal day until a customer came running over, shouting and yelling. There was a trail of blood behind her. She had both hands up holding her face. She was completely missing the lower part of her jaw. But somehow, she still managed to shout, "Help me! He shot me! He shot me!" I couldn't believe we had an active shooter at my workplace. When I think back on that incident, I feel a sudden rush of adrenaline in my body still. And even though active shooter incidents are tragic and significant incidents, there are thousands more subtle examples of workplace violence that occur every day. After spending 24 years of my career studying human nature and the science behind the violence, I've learned the best ways to manage conflict. And I've also learned the best ways to prevent it. See, workplace violence is at an all-time high in society now. And it's not just about the active shooter situations you hear about. It also consists of verbal abuse and harassment, belittling and swearing from a customer, or bullying and intimidation from a coworker. Unfortunately, workplace violence is so common. Most of you have probably already experienced it as well. Dealing with these challenging behaviors is not just frustrating, it can also be dangerous. And these situations go ignored in the workplace. But why? Maybe it's because we feel like we just have to accept it. It's part of the job. Or maybe it's because no one has ever shown us what to do to address it. That's why today I want to share 2 essential concepts on how to manage violence and prevent conflict and escalation. Concept number 1, learn the brain science. Concept number 2, don't be a truth pusher. Okay, number 1. First, we have to understand our brains are wired for survivability. We have a part of our brain called the prefrontal cortex, and that's our thinking brain. It helps us use logic and good assessment skills to drive rational behaviors. But there's another part of our brain called the amygdala. And the amygdala is our detection system. And it senses harm and threats, and it drives our responses and our reactionary behaviors. Now, the amygdala does help us protect ourselves, but it can also get triggered even with normal stress or the perception of a threat. And this can lead behaviors to be irrational and aggressive and violent. So now that we've talked a little bit about why somebody can act out, it's important to understand what to do to control the response. That's concept number 2. Don't be a truth pusher. Whenever we feel like someone is giving us a hard time or someone is upset with us, we suddenly get defensive. Our amygdalas get triggered. Our instant reaction is to try and immediately explain ourselves. We start reciting policies, or we push what our needs are, because we want people to understand us. Sometimes we outright ignore or deny the very thing that that upset person just shared. We push our truth, and we're trying to appeal to the rational brain, but that doesn't work. When we lead with our feelings, it only further invalidates someone else's. And this can lead to behaviors that escalate to violence. So instead, use a validation statement. We want to calm or quiet the amygdala. Now, this is not a natural reaction. It actually takes practice. So to practice validation, we can start with simple phrases such as, I can hear how upsetting that is for you. Or, I can see you're still very frustrated and upset. Or, thank you for sharing how you feel about that. When you lead with a validation statement, you'll see great success with de-escalating conflict. Integrating these two concepts allows you the chance to manage behaviors before they turn violent. So commit to the brain science before pushing your truth. The next time someone says something that's offensive, or they call you a name, or they swear, first pause. Take a breath. Calm your amygdala. Then use a validation statement to calm theirs. When we learn to connect in this way, it actually gives us a chance to predict outcomes and prevent violence. And as Stephen Covey nicely summarizes, we should always seek first to understand, then seek to be understood.